Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. It's Paula here with Hibbing Wellness coming on for our weekly podcast slash Facebook live stream slash a bunch of really fun stuff, all about helping our community and the world become a little bit healthier and a little bit happier. And today I am super excited. We have the beautiful Miss Natalie Peterson here. And I got first introduced to Natalie through the local Hibbing Area Chamber of Commerce. I went to her presentation on the stamina protocol. So Natalie, can you just introduce yourself to everybody?
Sure. Hi, Natalie Peterson. I am new to the Hibbing area. Actually, almost not new anymore. It's almost been a year since I've lived here in Hibbing. I run my own business, and my business is dedicated to helping people not only become healthier and happier, but specifically helping people overcome and avoid burnout, which is something that's so prevalent these days. Whether you're working in a corporate environment, whether you don't have your career job yet, but you're just hustling, trying to make it work, or whether you're in school or a mom or a dad that's just trying to handle all the demands of life. It's my job and my business to help you through that, to increase your energy, to double your focus, productivity, so that you can get through the demands of your day and still have something left in the tank for the people and the things that matter most to you.
Okay, so burnout is a term that a lot of people have been using, and it's thrown around a lot, especially in the healthcare industry. Can you describe a little bit more about exactly what you mean by burnout?
Right, sure. So burnout dates all the way back to the late 1970s, when they started to notice that people were beginning to just essentially wear out, that you become fatigued in what you're being asked to do. So there's a bunch of different definitions of burnout, but overall, I look at burnout as when you are no longer excited or motivated about your day or your life. You start to become apathetic about the things that you're being asked to do, where the rewards you're gaining from your work, from your day-to-day activities are no longer meeting the expectations that you have. And when you just generally are tired, fatigued, stressed out, it's just this overwhelming feeling that you are being crushed and you don't have a way out. So the symptoms can be very similar to depression, to anxiety, to just being stressed in general. But I think now that the World Health Organization has made it that it can be a clinical diagnosis, that's going to differ depending on if you were actually seeing a doctor. But for me, it can be symptoms of burnout, or it could be actual burnout. And I think if we want to just recognize when something isn't right, like I think we all have this gut intuition that if something's not right, if our efforts we're expending are greater than what we're getting in return, that's when we can start to experience burnout.
Okay, which brings me to, what are some signs and symptoms that people can recognize in their day-to-day lives of like definitive signs that, it's probably time to make a change right now?
This is a big one. So before you ever make a change in your life, I'm realizing like it always starts with a wake-up call, where you're realizing like something's not right, I have to be different, I have to take control of my life, or there's going to be massive consequences. So there's a ton of signs, but I narrow it down to these 6. And one of them is that you hurt all the time. So you being a massage therapist, you deal with people who are hurting. So if you're hurting all the time, and that can be hurting in different ways. So you can be in pain, which is something that means you need to be doing something different from a mobility standpoint, a recovery standpoint. Perhaps you're engaging in exercises, or you need some rehab, right? So it can be a physical pain. It can also be that you're hurting all the time because you're just low energy. Like you just don't have the ability to meet each task throughout your day with engagement and excitement, so low energy. And then hurting all the time can also be that you're out of shape and you can't keep up with the demands of your life. That could be your kids, that could be perhaps you're in a physical job and you're realizing like, wow, I really can't hack this, I need to do something different. So that's number 1, you hurt all the time. Number 2 is that you realize that it's taking everything that you have to just get through your day. That when you wake up in the morning, it's that sense of dread, and you have to really dig deep just to do the bare minimum, let alone get home and have energy for anyone else or yourself or anything like that. So if you're realizing that, you're barely scraping by, that's a huge sign that something needs to change. Number 3 is when you realize that every day starts to feel like Groundhog Day.
That monotony.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you wake up every day and it's just this, everything's just kind of bland, and every day seems the same. There's no passion. There's no excitement. There's no drive to do or be more. There's no reason to set new goals. So that's a huge one, when every day is just feeling monotonous and like Groundhog Day. Number 4, when your relationships are with your friends and your family are suffering. So whether you're single or in a partnership or a marriage, if your relationships are suffering because of your burnout or because of your symptoms of burnout, that's a huge sign that it's time for a change. If your relationships are suffering, or your friendships are suffering, that is, you're not able to gather up the energy to go and hang out with people, go do the things that you used to enjoy, to take your kids out to the park, to take them to go do something fun. If your relationships are dwindling because of it, it's time for a change. Number 5 is if you're giving every ounce of you to your job or to your career, and then there's nothing really coming back in return, that you're always at the office, that you're always the first one in and the last one out. You're working on Saturdays, even though it's optional, but you're there because you feel like you can never catch up. You feel like there's nothing you can do but give all to your job or your career, but you don't really feel like there's any reason, any benefit, any joy in that. It's time to make a change. And then number 6, and I think this one is a tough one to face for many of us because it takes a lot of self-reflection, looking in the mirror, is when your general outlook has become negative, that you're the person that is always looking on the downside, always bringing up the problem, always complaining. You're calling up friends or you're calling up loved ones, and all you do is talk about the bad stuff, that you're getting this reputation of being like that Eeyore personality.
Yep.
I don't know.
The Debbie Downer.
Yeah, the Debbie Downer, the negative Nancy, whatever
Yep.
you want to call it, when
Yep.
you're the one that's just bringing the rain cloud into the room. And sometimes it's really hard to see because you can be so deep in it that you don't recognize that's what you're doing. But when you're looking at, is it time for a change, start to analyze how you show up in your relationships. Do you bring light? Do you bring good energy? Do you bring positivity? Or are you the person that's sucking that out of the room? And if you realize you're that person, it's time to do something about it, because not only are you affecting other people, but that just continues to drag you down further. So that's a lot to cover and unpack in this short time, but hopefully if any of you are listening and you feel like one of those 6 signs is you, start to think about what that means for your life and how different it would be if you could flip that on its head and reverse it. And instead of being the person known for your general negative outlook, what if you were the person that was known for your optimism, your passion, your positivity? How different would that look? And how much of an impact would that make on your life and the lives of other people?
No, you kind of mentioned a little bit about how all these different things can affect our health, or not necessarily our health. You didn't quite use that word, but some of these effects, how does it actually take toll on your body long term if we don't start taking some of this stuff under control? Yeah,
that's a great point to bring up, because we can think about it like, oh, our relationships suffer, or maybe our general mood is a problem, but burnout has an impact not only on our personal life but on our health as well. So if you're perpetually stressed out all the time, it's going to have an impact on your blood pressure. It's going to have an impact on your general sleep patterns. So you're not sleeping as well. It has been linked also, perpetual stress and constant stress, to heart disease. You get sick more often if you're a person who is worn down, stressed out, burned out. And then from a physical standpoint as well, you start to develop more pain. You start to move less because you hurt more, which is just this vicious cycle.
Vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle. So it just leads to increased negative health symptoms in so many ways. So it's something that I think we don't always realize, that I think it's 90% of chronic diseases are stress induced. So meaning 90% of them are preventable. through some of these wellness based activities. So it impacts our health.
Pretty significantly.
Pretty significantly. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so when we all try to make lifestyle changes, that's something that all of us generally try to do.
Yeah.
There's also those little hurdles that kind of get in our way, and sometimes we can get over those hurdles and sometimes we can't.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips or advice on people when they hit that roadblock or that speed bump? How do we move past that to start making healthier life choices?
Yeah, so first I want to just say that the reason why I got interested in health and wellness and in this burnout prevention is because that was me. Like all these things I'm talking about, being that negative person, calling people up to complain, going into work just feeling like, ugh, another day where nothing matters and everything's just gonna stress me out, and not being excited about everything. That was me. And so it was me realizing that I didn't want to be that person that spurred this. It's been years to get to the point where we're at now, and has ultimately brought us to Hibbing, was because we recognized, my husband and I recognized that the way we were doing things wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
So the first thing is you have to be open to change, and you have to be open to doing something different, even if it means packing up your family and moving to Hibbing.
Yeah. Because you guys moved here, but it was from across the country, right?
So, yes. So, and my husband is from Hibbing, so that's how we came to come back. This is his hometown.
Okay.
And we were in San Diego he was there for 8 years, I was there for 4.
Okay.
So we did come across the country, but we went to Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is where my family's from. Great city, love Ann Arbor, but our lifestyle, we thought it'd be this massive change coming from like San Diego lifestyle to Ann Arbor. But what we realized, and what I love most about being here in Hibbing, is that it's that small town community that was what we needed.
Yep.
And it's not what everybody else maybe needed, or people not understanding our moving our family and moving from great cities. But we found a great town here where we don't have the same stresses.
Yeah, there's something special about small towns. There really is.
I mean, first of all, meeting people like you right away, that the community, just like everybody is there to help each other out, and you're able to connect. So the way I feel is connect so much deeper with the people you're working with. But for us, it was recognizing the need for a change and then being willing to actually go with where those changes lead you, which was ultimately this move. So a road bump for people, or a speed bump for people, is not knowing where to start.
Yes.
And not knowing, especially once you recognize the change, being willing to make it, and then trying to figure out where to start.
Yes.
So what I do when I'm working with somebody or talking to somebody about change is I ask them to do a self-assessment on what their needs are. So we all have massively different needs when it comes to our health and wellness. We all have different family situations, different responsibilities. So the first thing is doing a self-assessment on, what do I need the most right now?
Yep.
Because if we can't figure out what it is we need most right now, then we get into this process of trying to do it all. And just like everything else.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
No.
You can't do it all at once.
No, and that's partially what got us into the problem in the first place, is trying to do it all, trying to do too much. So knowing where to begin is a common roadblock for people. So we'll put it in the show notes. I have a self-assessment that you can take where it walks you through 10 questions specific to health and specific to happiness. That's why I address this as overall wellness. It's not just our health, but our general outlook, our happiness, our confidence, contentment, and joy in our life. So walks you through 10 questions, and the results give you a specific place to start. And I look at overall wellness or health and happiness being this circle with a target in the middle, and around the target we have our movement, our fuel, and our recovery. So we can go a little bit more into that maybe in a few minutes or future episodes, but the self-assessment will help you know where to begin. And so I would start there in terms of just getting over that initial hurdle. Take the self-assessment, see where you're at today, so that you don't try to take it all on at once. Yeah,
because that's will lead to a different kind of burnout, and yet again another kind of roadblock. And then time. A lot of people say, I don't have the time to do this. So any tips on the time factor?
Right. So with time, we're all busy, I think. I think, whether whatever stage you are in your life, whether you have kids or not, spouse or not, you know, whether you're working or staying at home, like life is full. There's so many things we can fill our schedules with.
Yes.
So when it comes to time, I like to talk to people about taking their time back rather than trying to manage their time. What differentiates that is taking your time back means being strategic and looking at how are you spending your time currently, what is a non-negotiable, and what are optional activities that you're inserting into your day, because there's always going to be non-negotiables. There's your meals, your travel, your actual work hours that are locked in that don't change. But I think when we look at our day, like if you take a planner that has every hour from 6 a.m. until 8 p.m. at night, and if you were to track your time and how you're spending it, I guarantee you're going to find 30-minute blocks in there in different spots where you have options on how you're spending your time. So first it's figuring out where are your time windows. The second thing being, once you look at that time breakdown of what you're doing and how you're spending your time, identifying where are the optional activities that you can get rid of that are not adding benefit to who you want to be, what you want to be doing, identifying what you could potentially say no to. And then the last thing is just being insanely intentional with how you spend your time, focused, because there are distractions, oh man, everywhere. And we're in the land of instant gratification right now. Like everything is accessible, all of that knowledge and information is at our fingertips. That doesn't mean we need to consume all of it, but that means it's all there. So it's getting really clear about what does your time look like, how are you spending it, where are your time windows. Most of us have opportunity to change how we're spending our time, either early in the morning, sometimes at lunch, depending on your situation, and in the evenings.
The evening seems to be where a lot of people kind of don't regulate their time probably as well as they should.
Mornings and evenings, I find, you know, if you could be somebody who, okay, I don't have to drop my kids off till 8, they get up at 7, well, there's time before that. If you're not a morning person, then like Paula said, it's in the evening, but figuring out where is even just a 30-minute window, we're not talking hours of time, but where are these small 30-minute windows, even 10, 15 minutes? I mean, there are things you can do with small chunks of time. You just have to identify where they are and then schedule and be strategic about how you're spending them.
Okay.
I mean, I block my time out. I'm pretty nerdy about it. Like blocking out, like, all right, I get up at this time, I'm going to spend 15 minutes reading, and then I'm going to do 15 minutes of personal development work. I mean, it's very, very scheduled. But that's what it takes because we are so busy.
Until you create a habit. But you have to schedule it first before it actually starts becoming a habit in your life. Okay, so unfortunately we're going to be out of time for the day here, Natalie, already. But if people want to reach out to you, how do they reach you?
Sure. Okay, so my you can reach me at Natalie at nataliempeterson.com, and we'll put some notes down in terms of how you can reach me. But that's my email. My website is nataliempeterson.com, and then I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and that's all under Natalie PD. So it's the same handle there. But thank you so much for having me on, and I hope to engage and hear from some of you. And if you have any questions, I know we ran through a lot of stuff in 20 minutes, but I promise I read every email and every DM that I get, so I'd love to talk with anybody more if you have questions.
Oh, and then quick before we go, what kind of services do you offer if somebody wants to reach out to you?
So I do work both with individuals one-on-one as well as businesses. So from an individual standpoint, I run some group challenges as well as one-on-one coaching. So there'll be more about the group challenges coming up in the new year. I have one that's going to be launching in January. I'm doing some pilots right now. And then I do one-on-one coaching as well. So I'd love to talk more about that. And we look at it again from a whole life perspective. So it's not just about food or not just about exercise, but how do you take your life back and make it better? And then as far as with businesses, I do anything from lunch and learns, keynotes, day-long workshops. I also contract with some businesses to help them just figure out what do they need to do. Because sometimes, just like in our life, it's a strategy of what do you really want? What are you trying to do for employees? And I think for businesses, if I could say one thing, whether I ever talk to you or not, whether we ever work together or not, is figure out how can you provide more value for the people working for you, because people want to work for a company that makes them feel valued, cared about, and happy to be there at work.
Yeah.
So what ways can you provide things for them that are not just training on, the typical, tactical aspects of their job, or not just the mandatory trainings that you think are important to do the day-to-day technical skills, but how can you enrich their lives, make it better, and let them know that they're cared about? Because if you do that for an employee, they're going to love working for you. They're going to stay. You're going to retain them. They're going to bring other people into the business, which I think is huge, is employee retention. So if you're a business owner, keep that in mind. Add value to the lives of your employees, because they bring their whole life into work.
Yes.
It's not just their work personality.
Yeah.
It's everything. So
there's not a lot of separation with that. They just kind of effortlessly blend together in most cases.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you, Natalie.
Yeah, thank you.
And we will see you guys later.
See you soon.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.